So now that you've looked at the brief, we've talked about the brief and getting the specifications from our client. We've talked about the plan. So this is another aspect of planning your spreadsheet solution. We've talked about stakeholder consultations. What we do with this information now is we need to break it down into smaller chunks and create milestones so that we can track how we are moving forward. So you'll see here, this is an example over here. You'll see that this is an example of all the tasks being broken down into milestones. So you'll notice here that the very first thing is one of the first stages, which was consult with the client about requirements of the spreadsheet. So that's the part with the brief. In the real world, you'll have a meeting with your client. Your client will tell you what they're looking for, and you would note down all the specifications from there. Then the second stage here, the second milestone is designing. And this is the part where you look at all that information on the brief and you start designing a template. And we'll talk about that in the next part of this lesson. The next two parts of this lesson, actually. So you notice in this example, it's been broken down into different milestones. Now, your own set of milestones doesn't necessarily have to match this one. So maybe you might have a different set of milestones that you would want to follow for your clients. It just needs to have logic and make sense, or match the needs like we talked about earlier with your stakeholders. So let's have a look at an example. When you do your milestones, it does help to create a checklist. So once you've made your milestones, you can start creating a plan in terms of a checklist with a target completion date. So by this date, I want to get this done. By that date, I want to finish this off, etc., etc. And this is how it would look. So you notice here, your first milestone is one of the first steps that you'd have in your checklist. And you can tick it off to see how you're progressing towards your due date or your deadline. Otherwise, if you don't have the deadlines that you've set here, so you set your own target completion dates, you yourself won't know whether you're on track or not. And you might leave things to the last minute. Now, another thing that we'll need to talk about is resources. So once you're done here, just click down here and we'll move on to resources.